Ethan Whitmore had built an empire from nothing. From a cramped garage where he started repairing broken computers, he had risen to become the founder of Whitmore Technologies, a billion-dollar company that now powered homes, offices, and even schools across the state. People admired his success, envied his wealth, and studied his every move in magazines and business columns. On the outside, Ethan's life was perfect. A sprawling mansion on the hills, fleets of luxury cars, private chefs, and the kind of financial freedom most people could only dream about. He wore tailored suits, signed million-dollar deals over dinner, and never had to worry about bills or debts again. But success had come at a cost, one he rarely admitted to himself. Long hours at the office, endless international meetings, and his constant hunger to expand his empire had distanced him from his family. His wife often complained about being more of a stranger than a partner, and his 10-year-old son, Oliver, had slowly learned to stop waiting for his father to show up at soccer games, school plays, or even birthdays. "Dad's busy," Oliver would say with a forced smile whenever his classmates asked why his father wasn't around. Ethan told himself it was temporary. One more deal, one more merger, one more year of grinding, and then I'll have time for Oliver. But deep down, he knew that tomorrow always brought new excuses. That Friday afternoon, however, things were different. A rare free day had opened up on Ethan's calendar after a cancelled board meeting. His assistant suggested rescheduling a client call, but something in Ethan stirred. Perhaps guilt, perhaps longing. "No," he said, surprising himself. "I'll pick up Oliver from school today." It had been years since he had done such a simple, ordinary thing. The idea almost felt foreign. Yet, as he slid into the driver's seat of his matte black Bentley, there was a flicker of excitement. Maybe this was his chance to show his son he cared. Maybe today could be the start of something new. The school was a prestigious private academy, one Ethan paid a fortune to keep Oliver in. Tall gates, manicured lawns, and pristine uniforms, it was the kind of place where children of politicians, athletes, and fellow business tycoons were raised. He always assumed it was the best environment money could buy. When he arrived, he parked by the gates, earning a few stares from other parents who recognized both him and his car. Some even whispered his name in admiration. Ethan gave a polite nod but stayed focused. He wasn't here for them, he was here for his son. A loud bell rang, and soon the front doors burst open with children rushing out, laughter filling the air. Parents waved, teachers called names, and drivers opened car doors. Ethan scanned the crowd for Oliver's familiar face, expecting to see him cheerful, bright, and eager to jump into the Bentley. But Oliver wasn't there. Minutes passed. Parents left one by one with their children. The yard grew quieter. Still, no Oliver. Frowning, Ethan stepped out of the car and approached one of the teachers. "Excuse me, I'm Oliver Whitmore's father. Do you know where he is?" The teacher hesitated, glancing nervously toward the side of the building. "Mr. Whitmore, I think you should speak to Principal Harris. He's in his office." Something tightened in Ethan's chest. He quickly walked inside, past gleaming hallways lined with student artwork. When he entered the principal's office, he found Oliver sitting in the corner, not cheerful or smiling, but with his head down, arms wrapped tightly around himself. Principal Harris cleared his throat. "Mr. Whitmore, thank you for coming. I was just about to call you." Ethan's eyes darted from the principal to his son. "What's going on? Why is Oliver here?" The principal leaned forward, folding his hands. "Your son has been having some difficulties. We've tried to manage it quietly, but today it became impossible to ignore." Ethan frowned. "Difficulties? What are you talking about?" The principal sighed heavily. "Oliver has been bullied for months, from what we've gathered. Today, it escalated. We found him in the playground after 3 boys cornered him. They took his lunch, pushed him, and, he hesitated, said some very cruel things about you." Ethan's heart dropped. "About me? Yes. Children can be harsh. They called him names. Said he was spoiled. That his father doesn't care. That money can't buy love." For the first time in years, Ethan felt powerless. His billions, his status, his empire, none of it mattered when his son sat there, small and wounded, because of him. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" he asked, his voice cracking. Oliver finally looked up, his eyes brimming with tears. "Because you're never here, Dad." The words cut deeper than any business rival ever could. Ethan stood frozen, staring at his son, realizing that the success he had built his life upon had left the most important person in his world feeling abandoned. And in that moment, Ethan Whitmore's perfect life began to crumble. Ethan sat in silence, the weight of Oliver's words crashing down on him like a tidal wave. "Because you're never here, Dad." The phrase replayed in his mind, burning with guilt. For years, he had believed providing wealth and comfort was enough. But in reality, his absence had left Oliver vulnerable and unprotected. Principal Harris spoke gently, breaking the heavy silence. "Mr. Whitmore, I don't mean to overstep, but Oliver has been withdrawing lately. His teachers noticed. He doesn't participate in class the way he used to. At recess, he's often alone. We've been concerned." Ethan clenched his fists, fighting the urge to lash out, not at the principal, not at the school, but at himself. "Why wasn't I told sooner?" he asked, his voice rough. "We sent emails, and I believe we left a few messages with your office," the principal explained delicately. "But your assistant always responded. Perhaps the urgency wasn't conveyed to you." Ethan's stomach turned. His empire was so vast, so consuming, that even his son's pain had been filtered through layers of assistants and secretaries. He knelt in front of Oliver, trying to catch his eyes. "Son, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you call me?" Oliver's lip trembled. "Because you're always busy. Every time I wanted to talk, you were on the phone, or traveling, or saying you'd come later. And later never came." The words stabbed deep, and Ethan realized that this wasn't just about bullying. It was about years of absence, broken promises, and a boy who had silently carried the weight of loneliness. Principal Harris cleared his throat. "Today, we caught the boys responsible. They'll be disciplined, but words leave scars. Oliver's been carrying those scars for a while." Ethan nodded stiffly. He knew what he had to do. "Can I speak to them?" The principal looked surprised. "The bullies?" "Yes," Ethan said firmly. "I want to see them." Minutes later, 3 boys were brought into the office, smug at first, whispering to each other, but their smiles faded when they saw Ethan Whitmore in person. His towering figure, sharp suit, and piercing eyes made the air heavy. "Do you know who I am?" Ethan asked, his voice calm but commanding. One boy mumbled, "You're Oliver's dad." "That's right," Ethan said, folding his arms. "And do you know what it means when you insult my son? When you call him names, when you tell him his father doesn't care?" The boys shifted nervously. The room was silent except for Ethan's steady voice. "It means you have no idea what people go through. You look at Oliver and see fancy clothes or the car I drive. You think money means life is easy. But do you know what Oliver doesn't have? Me, his father. I've failed to be here for him. And your words remind him of that failure." Oliver's eyes widened. He wasn't used to hearing his father admit weakness, especially in front of strangers. Ethan leaned closer to the boys. "You're children, so I won't hold this against you forever. But let this be a lesson. Wealth doesn't shield a heart. Every cruel word you speak has power. And someday, when you feel small or alone, you'll understand how much words can hurt." The boys lowered their heads, shame washing over them. The principal dismissed them with a stern warning, leaving Ethan and Oliver alone once more. For a moment, neither spoke. Ethan finally reached out, brushing his son's shoulder. "Oliver, I'm so sorry. I thought I was giving you everything by working so hard. But I see now, I wasn't giving you the one thing you needed most, me." Oliver sniffled, unsure how to respond. A part of him wanted to believe his father, but another part was afraid it was just another promise waiting to be broken. Ethan noticed the doubt in his son's eyes and felt his chest tighten. "Listen to me," he said, voice trembling with sincerity. "That ends today. No more excuses, no more empty promises. You're my son, and nothing, no business deal, no amount of money, is more important than you." For the first time in years, Oliver leaned into his father, resting his small head against Ethan's chest. The warmth of the embrace melted a layer of distance that had long separated them. But Ethan knew words weren't enough. He needed to prove it, to show Oliver through actions, not speeches. That evening, instead of rushing back to the office, Ethan drove Oliver home himself. No chauffeur, no assistants, just the two of them. Along the way, Oliver quietly opened up. "They always take my lunch," Oliver admitted softly. "They say I don't need it because I'm rich. Sometimes I just throw it away before they can get it." Ethan gripped the steering wheel harder. His son had been skipping meals, suffering in silence, while he had been sipping champagne in boardrooms. "I wish you had told me," Ethan whispered. "I didn't think you'd care," Oliver replied honestly. The pain in those words nearly broke Ethan. He vowed to himself then and there that he would never let his son doubt his love again. The house loomed ahead, a grand mansion glowing in the evening light. But for the first time, it didn't feel like a home, it felt like a prison built by neglect. Ethan realized the real test wasn't what happened in the boardroom tomorrow, it was what happened in Oliver's heart tonight. And he intended to pass that test. That night, Ethan canceled every meeting on his schedule. His assistant protested over the phone, but Ethan's answer was simple and final: I'm taking a break. My son needs me. For a man who had lived and breathed work for 2 decades, the words felt revolutionary. The mansion's dining hall was enormous, built for gala dinners and business parties. But tonight, only 2 plates were set on the long polished table, one for Ethan, one for Oliver. For the first time in years, Ethan sat with his son for dinner without glancing at a buzzing phone or rushing through bites. At first, the silence was awkward. Oliver poked at his pasta, glancing at his father as if waiting for him to disappear into work again. But Ethan stayed, asking gentle questions. What's your favorite subject in school? Oliver hesitated. Art. I like drawing. Ethan raised his brows. He had always assumed his son would follow business or technology. Art. That's wonderful. What do you like to draw? Mostly animals. And sometimes superheroes, Oliver admitted shyly. Ethan smiled. Can I see your drawings after dinner? Oliver's eyes lit up with cautious hope. Really? Really? Ethan said firmly. I want to see everything. After dinner, Oliver ran upstairs and returned with a sketchbook. The drawings were rough but full of imagination: lions with wings, knights with glowing swords, and superheroes saving the day. Ethan flipped through each page slowly, genuinely impressed. These are amazing, he said honestly. You have a gift, Oliver. Oliver beamed, pride shining in his eyes. That small moment of recognition, a father admiring his son's passion, was something he had craved for years. For the next few days, Ethan devoted himself to Oliver. He walked him to school, picked him up afterward, and even sat in on one of his soccer practices. At first, Oliver's classmates whispered in disbelief, the billionaire is actually here, but soon, Ethan wasn't the millionaire dad anymore. He was just a father cheering from the sidelines. One afternoon, as they drove home, Oliver asked quietly, are you going to stop going to work now? Ethan chuckled softly. I can't stop completely, son. But I can make changes. I can give more time to the things that matter. To you. Oliver bit his lip. But what if you get busy again and forget? Ethan pulled the car over and turned to face him. Look at me, Oliver. I won't forget. You're my priority. I didn't realize it before, but now I do. Money can build houses, but only love builds a home. The boy stared into his father's eyes and, for the first time, believed him. Weeks passed, and the bond between them grew. Ethan began restructuring his company, handing responsibilities to trusted partners, carving out boundaries that protected his family time. The board was shocked, shareholders skeptical, but Ethan didn't care. His fortune was meaningless if it cost him his son. Then came a moment that cemented everything. At Oliver's school, a small art exhibition was organized, showcasing students' work. Oliver had submitted a drawing of a superhero, tall, strong, wearing a suit not unlike his father's. But instead of carrying a briefcase of money, the superhero was holding a child's hand. Beneath it, Oliver had written, my dad. My real hero. Ethan stood before the drawing, his throat tight, tears stinging his eyes. Other parents admired it, praising Oliver's creativity, but for Ethan, it was more than art. It was a declaration of forgiveness, a bond healed, and proof that love had finally broken through the walls wealth had built. When the exhibition ended, Oliver looked up at him shyly. Did you like it? Ethan knelt, hugging his son tightly. I loved it, Oliver. And I promise you, I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you never feel alone again. For the first time in years, Ethan wasn't thinking about markets or mergers. He wasn't the billionaire businessman, the mogul everyone admired. He was simply a father, grateful for a second chance. That night, as he tucked Oliver into bed, Ethan whispered, you're my greatest fortune. And for the first time in his life, Ethan Whitmore felt truly rich.